Dean Downing's getting a bit annoyed here. He's in one of those aggressive moods today, Dean Downing. There's a lot of motorbikes around these breakaways, and the British Premier Calendar getting very, very popular, and therefore more photographers and more cameras out there on the roads. Well, I think these riders are just testing out each other at the moment, because in the group you've got riders who have got really fast sprints on them, the likes of Malcolm Elliott, the likes of Russell Downing. But then you've got riders who would want to try and break away, like Chris Newton, who would be happier if he could just break this group up and maybe take 2 or 3 riders with him to the finish to give himself a better chance of winning this Beaumont trophy. It's all about numbers, it's all about the different combinations of riders, and it looks like we've got a group of 4 now making their way off the front, and the gap is starting to open up. So an interesting period in this Beaumont trophy as we head towards the finish. This is the 8th round of the British Premier Calendar. We've had wins for Chris Newton in the first round, then Dean Downing in the Tour of the Reservoir. Wilkinson not in this breakaway at all today for Science and Sport. Simon Gaywood won the Archer Grand Prix, then Malcolm Elliott won the East Midlands Classic. Dean Downing took the Lincoln Grand Prix, and of course Russell took the Richmond race that we saw just a couple of weeks ago. But the gap's certainly growing a little bit, and Matthew Stevens trying to tow himself and Rob Sharman back up to the lead. Here's Dean Downing. Malcolm Elliott goes through. Chris Newton is on his wheel. Russell Downing on the back, who almost touched the wheel as he went through. Well, at the end of 106 miles, you're extremely tired, and you will just, if you're not careful, you could crash, touch a wheel or anything like that, and certainly you've got to have your wits about you. Heading towards the finish now. Chris Newton on the back of this group. Elliott having a little look. He'll be working out how he can beat the younger riders in front of him. Well, there you are. There's an experienced professional. Malcolm Elliott just doing up the Velcro on those shoes. He's getting ready for a sprint. Elliott fancies this one. It's a slight uphill till about 50 yards from the finish, then it goes downhill to the line. And when you think about Malcolm Elliott's career, he's one of the most successful British cyclists ever. He's won 2 stages in the Vuelta a España back in his career, back in 1988 and 1989. He's finished the Giro d'Italia, he's ridden the Tour de France, finished it twice in 1987 and 1988. And whenever he's heading towards the finish in a group, I can tell you these younger riders get very, very concerned. They know that he can beat them in the finishing sprint. Maybe the only rider who could beat Malcolm Elliott here is Russell Downing. Dean Downing was on spectacular sprinting form earlier in the season, but there's all sorts of combinations of races and tactics going on here. There is the race between this man, Dean Downing, and Chris Newton on the front for the British Premier Calendar. Remember, they are equal on points at this moment in time with 7 rounds completed. We go back to the peloton, being led by Ian Wilkinson, a former leader of this Premier Calendar. Well, Wilkinson's missed out on this race today. He'll be disappointed with that. Our camera's looking to see where these leading group of 4 riders have got to. Well, they're heading into the next village, and Elliott again, he's absolutely obsessed with doing his shoes up at the moment. He's done this twice now through the left-hander. Sunshine greeting the riders, and of course greeting the crowd as well, which is swelling at the finish. We've got a very, very big crowd waiting for this finishing sprint. And it is great credit to the team that have put these events on this weekend, that they have managed to build up such a high profile already. Or Matthew Stevens, he's had a really tough day out on the road. Remember, he was in that original breakaway, and he looks like his legs have given out as he heads towards the finish. Russell Downing on the front, Dean Downing in second, Malcolm Elliott in third. Chris Newton, the former world track champion and Great Britain Olympian, in this group as well. It just shows we've got some fantastic talent in British racing. Malcolm Elliott, one of the riders who really blazed a trail for the Brits on the continent, and now all these younger riders have been in the continent, they've ridden for Great Britain. In fact, all of these riders have represented Great Britain at one time or another, either in Olympic Games or World Championships, on the track or on the road. Russell Downing up that little rise. Malcolm Elliott still working his way through. Now Elliott has to work here, because the minute Elliott sits up or Russell Downing sits up, the other two won't work either, because they know that these two riders have the stronger finishing sprint. It's all a game of tactics. Now a big attack goes on at the front. It's Dean Downing who's trying to break the elastic. I think we're just towards about a kilometre to go now, and it's Dean Downing who's trying to break the will of everybody else. Well, he looks around and he's got a little bit of a gap, but I'm not sure that he's going to be able to maintain it to the finish. Right, he's just about to be caught, and it's Chris Newton who tows the two chasers up. Now Russell Downing has a look around. There is absolute needle between these riders now, and Elliott is tracking the wheel of Russell Downing. He knows exactly which wheel he needs to follow. He is absolutely sure that it isn't the wheel of Dean Downing and Chris Newton. He knows that he's got to try and beat Russell Downing. Well, if these four riders start to mess around here, then they could well be caught, because Rob Sharman and Matthew Stevens are not very far behind as we head towards the finish. Well, the pace has absolutely dropped, and a large crowd now waiting on the finish line in Stamfordham for the conclusion, and they are almost at a standstill. Newton doesn't want to be beaten by Dean Downing, because he wants to maintain his position at the top of the Premier calendar. Russell Downing and Malcolm Elliott looking over their shoulder. Elliott's worried that they're all going to be caught, and certainly if they get caught by Rob Sharman, he really packs a punch in a sprint. And indeed, look at this. Well, these four riders have messed around too long, and Sharman's coming up to them with Matthew Stevens. Well, a few moments ago, Stevens looked like his race was completely over. Sharman goes immediately for the KFS Special Vehicles team, and Matthew Stevens' legs give out. I think it's about 200 metres to go. It is 200 metres to go towards the line. Is Sharman going to take this one? Well, the sprint is flat out, and they surprised him on the run-in. Who's going to get this one? They go round the left-hander. It's Elliott and Downing who are heading towards the finish line. Look at this, they're all across the road. Elliott on the left-hand side, Russell Downing on the right-hand side of the road. Who's going to get it? Oh, that was so close on the line, and I really couldn't split them. It's going to be a photograph. Look at this. Downing on the right, Elliott on the left, and it's Russell Downing by about the width of a tyre. Well, here's a confirmed result. Russell Downing takes his back-to-back win for HealthNet, and let's hear what he had to say.
I mean, that finish, that was pretty close. I mean, you were waiting for a couple of other guys to catch you up, and then...
we were just... No one wanted to take up the sprint. There was myself, Malk. Dean had sort of put an attack in, so he was sat last man, and no one wanted to commit. And then Chris committed, and then I went and took the inside line, which was a bit tighter than I thought, and the door didn't open up, and then it eventually came, so which left me a bit late for the sprint, and Malk nearly got over me, but I got him just on the line, so that was good.
Let's update ourselves on the British Premier calendar. After 8 rounds, Chris Newton edges ahead of Dean Downing, Rob Sharman in 3rd place. Malcolm Elliott still up there in 4th. Macaulay and Wilkinson make up the top 6 riders. Well, it's certainly starting to shape up to be a fascinating Premier calendar for 2007. A sparkling event. Russell Downing takes the Northern Rock Beaumont Trophy. A fantastic race. Join us next time.